there was bunches of folks who called one grand.
Understand Sue is not feeling well.
No. Again. Well, it's not as bad as it could have been. Just COVID, they said 30% of people that take that. That's all, come down again. Yeah. I'm fine, how are you, Barbara?
He needs prayer.
I know, right?
What
It's on this route. When there's not a storage on Yes, they enjoyed it.
Good, we've liked that as it is intergenerational. We've not taken cake with me.
It's organized. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so well organized.
They got the tools, they got the, there you go. You got Veronica and her husband. Very good morning. This is really, it's really, there's some neat stuff. Yeah. Yeah, little table.
If that's what you need. If not, yeah, well, and you know what they used to do? Right, right. So, I need to do it by myself. Right, oh, really? Oh, they were so sweet.
All I do is,
If you I'm.
yes.
There was no rest, no good. There was no rest. Oh, I know that.
That's a different hobby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a long wire, so we ever have to put it somewhere.
I might have slept in
Oh, really?
I love that. Their mom. Like just that. Yeah, you guys will.
I think he gave us, is it just one?
Yeah, no, I got a head mic.
No, we can share. We, only one of us can talk. Probably better if we have two. We both talk.
It's up there and it's on.
Okay. There's.
Yeah.
You just fixed it.
Cooperate.
Yeah.
Good morning. We are, again, for those of you who are in early service, we're so glad to be here. I had some people mention they wanted to hear a little bit about us and even our time here at Madison, and then, of course, obviously what we're doing in Honduras and what you guys are a part of through your prayers and your giving and us representing the church here. So I'm Katie, for those of you who I have not met personally, and my husband Todd Moody. We have our three boys here, Andrew, Connor, and Wesley. And then we have our daughter Annabella. We are here, this is a very short trip. We actually extended our trip just a little bit so that we could be here and be with you guys and in our other home here at church. Andrew graduated, and so he is actually moving back to the States. He is going to live in Louisville with my parents. He's going to take a gap year and work and then enroll in the fall for university in the fall. And so it's a very difficult trip, both coming and leaving, even though it's been a short trip, because Annabella is our daughter who has been with us since she was 5 days old. If you don't see a picture of her, we will definitely be glad to show you one of her. We think she's just the best. But she's been with us since she's 5 days old. She is now over 5. We are praying and hoping we're getting close to finishing that adoption. She's actually an easy case, so other adoptions take much longer than this. We've known people who've been 9-10 years easily, even to the child is too old to actually be able to adopt. So we're very close. Her file is in the adoption department, and so we're just waiting for them to move it into the court system. We don't know what that time frame looks like, but we're hoping they get it going. But it is difficult because I do want to get back to her. I'm talking to her on FaceTime, but I'm leaving my firstborn too here in the States. So it's a lot of mixed emotions for this trip. But and so we're very excited. We're excited to be here with our boys. And I did mention how much we love this church and how it is a home. One of our friends mentioned that it's like when we walk in, we just pick right back up where we were. And so we loved each and every one of you, our Faith Builder Sunday school class, and all the things that we did here are things that prepared us, whether it was local, in the church, with our neighbors, the outreach programs, Why Not Now, those sort of things. Those things did prepare us for what we're doing now. And so we just can't say enough how much we love you guys in this church.
So this is going to be more of an informal thing, and we'll speak for a little while and give you a few more details, and then we'll give you time to ask questions. We'd much rather hear what you want to hear from us. But for us right now, we've been in Honduras for 7 years. We've been with our new organization for 3 years now, Legacy Mission International. And when we formed the new organization, we wanted to get out of the footprint of our old organization. And so we moved to the north coast of Honduras to start serving there. From there, some of our missionaries went to the Bay Islands. And as time was passing, they were getting more and more work. And our work was staying steady. It was great, but they were desperate for more people and asked us if we would come serve with them. And so we moved to Roatan last year. So we've been there about a year. And it's been a huge blessing for our whole family. Our kids love it. When we first moved to the North Coast, right after we got there, COVID hit. And so we were locked in our house for 2 years. So really, we didn't enjoy it a whole lot, but God was still using us in those times. And our kids, like Honduras wouldn't allow anybody under 16 out of you. They could not leave their house. Like you could not leave the property ever. And so they were stuck literally in the house for 2 years. I was able to get out more because I got a special permit because we were providing food for people. So I was able to get out all the time. But the rest of the family was stuck in the house for a while. So they love being on the island because they can just go wherever they want. And we have more. There's another missionary family that has 3 teenagers. So the 6 of them are always together. Yeah, now 5 because one's staying behind. So we've been on Roatan for a year and gotten settled as much as we can and have just jumped in, helping out in any way we can. The first thing that they asked us is, hey, will you take the clinic? And so I said, well, I'll help. How about that? And so helping them in the clinic just turned into us running the clinic. So that's kind of where our focus is. Mine, especially, Katie helps a lot. She's got a different set of skills than I do. I have more of an administrator and she's more of a talker. Person. So she goes and loves on the nurse and the doctor and all of the patients that are sitting in the waiting room. And
He pays them.
I make sure they get paid and have medicine and equipment and things like that. But it works out. But I mentioned in the early service, but I'll mention it really quickly. Some of the other things that Legacy does that we're a part of, but maybe not in charge of or leading is about a year ago, our missionaries and all of our missionary families, except for us, we're the only 2 that are both from the U.S. All of our other missionary families are 1 U.S. and 1 Honduran. And some of those do not even speak English. And so they were struggling to find where they could worship. And they just decided to start meeting together, just the missionaries, so that they could do a bilingual service. And both spouses could enjoy it in their native language. Well, after a few weeks, people just started showing up. And they had no intention at that time of starting a church, but it turned into church. And Ben and Renee, 2 of our missionaries, are church planters, but they weren't at the point where they were ready to plant a church. They just wanted to worship. And so what that started last Easter has turned into a church. And we average about 60 people a Sunday. We have 7 baptisms today and have had many more baptisms throughout this past year. So it's just been a blessing. And you never know what God's going to do when you just start something. And so that's kind of where we are with the clinic. I just offered to help a little, and now we're running a full-blown clinic and a pharmacy, which I don't know anything about any of it. They tell me what to buy, and I make sure it's there, and they take care of it. I'm learning a lot. We just had a ultrasound. We had 2 ultrasound machines donated to us. I don't know anything about ultrasound machines, so if anybody knows how to operate an ultrasound machine, let me know. We might even help lie you down. Our doctor does know how to use it, but just in general. So we're looking for training for her as well, and that's one of the big things that when we get back, we've got to go find.
Because one of the things with the healthcare is the island is very long. I know a lot of people have heard of Roatan, and you see the pictures and you see the tourist side, and there is that side. But we live about a good hour drive down island, and on the east side, where they're the only other clinic there costs around 1,000 lempiras, which is $40, and no medicines are provided. We charge around $5, give or take, and you get any medicines that we have in stock. So that's their two options. Most of them don't have their own vehicles, so even driving down island to another clinic, which is going to be even more expensive, is not really an option for them. We also, on the area where we live, there are a lot of keys, little small islands, and those people can only get to anywhere else by boat. And so they come to us, and there's because they can't get down island, they don't have that ability. And so we live where the local people live. We live in the middle of them. And so we do enjoy being able to drive down the island and get a little more U.S. Influence experience. That has been nice. Our kids are taking Taekwondo and things like that, but in Spanish then. But Korean, yeah. So, but the people we live with are the people. There's actually 3 groups of people that we specifically minister to. There are the Islanders, which are of British descent, and they speak an Islander English. And sometimes I have to ask them, can we please speak in Spanish? Because I have no idea what they're saying. I think Michelle and I spoke. She heard a video of one of the young men that was lost at sea and was eventually made the way back. And she said it had a Cajun accent. And that's the way I explained there. It's a mixture of Caribbean English and Cajun. That's what it sounds like. And then we also have the mainlanders that have come over. So they are the Spanish-speaking, the traditional, when you think of Honduras, there's lots of, those are actually usually the poorer areas, and the poorer neighborhoods are from the mainland. So the mainland has given us a lot of experience, and sometimes we feel more at home in those neighborhoods. And then we also have the Garifuna people, which are of African descent, and they even have their own language, but they usually speak Spanish or English also. So it's 3 different people groups. We've also, surprisingly, God puts things in your path, is there's a big expat population from all over the world that live there, that have retired there because of the lower cost, and it's just kind of off the beaten path. And it is amazing to see what God has done without our intention. We are being more intentional now, but people from Europe, Canada, the U.S., and not only they when they were in their home country, they didn't necessarily go to church. And so having them pulled in, sometimes it's through the clinic. They were nurses, but they didn't necessarily go to church, and bring them in because they want to know what the clinic is doing. And so, and not only bringing them in and sharing Christ with them, but we've had some of them offer their hearts to Christ, and then getting them involved because they have the resources and the time to also be involved in ministry. And so that's been a very exciting part. And so with the ultrasound machine, we're really excited. There's not a lot of resources. In fact, the only public hospital is without an ultrasound machine right now. So what our plan is, once we get up and running with these, we're actually going to donate one of them to the public hospital, which is on down Mid-Island. And so we're excited to be able to share those resources. That's one of the things when we do get donations sent in of medicines or supplies. Our doctor works with us, and she also works nights at the public hospital. And so we're able to send any excess supplies to the public hospital because it's free, but it's not free. And so they usually don't have the resources they need to treat the patients. And so, and we're seeing more and more babies in our clinic, which is really exciting. And so we had two stories that pop out through the clinic specifically is we had one mother who came in and she didn't want anybody to look at her baby. And she had given birth at the public hospital and her baby was premature. And after talking to the doctors there, she thought she had done something wrong and that her baby was not normal. And so I got to talk to her about Annabella, who came to us at 5 days old, who was no more than 5 pounds, and show her pictures and pray with her and talk to her about she is a normal, healthy, smart 5-year-old, that just because your child was premature. And actually when she comes back to see our doctor and brings her little boy, and he has grown immensely. He is on track. And so just those little times and those relationship buildings and being able to invite them to church are really special times for us personally. And then another little girl, Kaylin, who has some obvious health problems. And so, and she needs to be on a special diet. And her mom looked at me and she goes, how am I supposed to give her special foods when I don't even know if we're going to have food tonight? And so we are working with them to provide especially fruits and vegetables and those sort of things, so they don't use their 50 cents to go buy a bag of chips versus eating those fruits and vegetables. And so we're working with her, have had her go to some specialists, which she'd never be able to do. If she doesn't get things under control, she will not live to see much of adulthood. So it's been really nice to be able to use the clinic and people coming in for health problems and being able to share Christ and just build those relationships with these people.
So one of the other, and Katie mentioned the little keys that are all over. One of the things that we're excited about is that we finally got a boat. Everybody travels by boat in that area. And so we got a boat, and we're planning, I think we have a couple of teams this year. The teams that bring medical people like nurses or doctors, those are the ones that we usually plan these, but we have mobile clinic where we take the boat and go out and take a clinic out to each key, because a lot of these people just won't come to the clinic. We would love for them to come, but and we would go get them, but they just don't want to come. They don't want to leave their key. And so we'll take, and we did one last year where we took a mobile clinic out to 3 different islands, and it was a blast, because while they were treating the patients, we were over playing with all their kids and having a little mini VPS. And it's just amazing to go to those places and share. And one of them now we have people that go once a week, and they have a little children's ministry where they go once a week, and all the kids come running, and they have Bible stories and crafts and things like that. So it's fun that all of our skills can be used. You don't have to be a nurse or a doctor to go do those parts. Well, some of the things that the clinic needs, and I've already mentioned one of our big ones was the training. We're working with another clinic that's about an hour and a half the other way, and they're a lot more established than we are. In fact, they're building a mini hospital right now on that end, but they've helped a lot and are trying to provide us with training materials. But if anybody feels like they want to come do some healthcare training, we would be glad to host you. I guess there's no big book. So the center of our ministry is the Legacy Center. It's a 2-story building that we just put the down payment on about a month or 2 ago. We had been renting it before, and now we just put the down payment and started paying. Hopefully get it paid off pretty quickly. But it's the bottom floor is the clinic, and I call it the church, but it's just a big room. It's not this big, but a big room, and we convert it every day. It converts into something different. They have martial arts in there. They have gymnastics. They have classes for kids, children's ministry, and it also does the church and just anything. It's our multi-purpose room. And then we have a little room for the kids. And then the upstairs, it's 2 different apartments. The guy that owned the building had 2 sons, and he said he built it, and it was a grocery store downstairs, and he built each of his sons an apartment. And his sons were in the States, and like, we're not coming back. So that's why he's selling it. And so we've turned one of the apartments is the team home, and that's where you guys will be staying. And then the other side is more educational. We have sewing classes and English classes, and library that has just started. I'm sure there's, oh, and the Advocacy Center for Women is upstairs on that side as well.
The Advocacy Center for Women is a very special place. That is not our main role, but through children's ministries, through the clinic, we find women and can refer them to them. So we do get involved. We just had one lady who we met, different missionaries had been visiting her home, speaking in that neighborhood, and it was very obvious that she was in a very dangerous situation, her and her children. And so we were able, we worked a little bit behind the scenes and a lot of prayer and support, because we do have to be careful how many people are in the front, just because it can be a very dangerous situation. And so, but we're able to it was needed, able to get her out and off the island with her children. It was complicated, but those are situations we can talk some one-on-one about if that's something you're interested in, but some of their stories are so personal and so specific that we don't like to share all the details in those. But as that program grows, a lot of times right now we're using contacts, but as it grows, we have two young ladies who are in charge of that ministry on a daily basis. And they do offer just counseling. We do have a lot of sex trafficking in the area, both locally and on the tourism side. And so there are youth in our youth group who they're working with to get them out of those situations. So it's a lot. It's a lot of heavy stories. It's a lot, and we need your prayers about. And so also with the church, we mentioned earlier in the service that we're just blown away at how God is using the young men, especially early 20s to early 30s in our community. These are young men who did not, even as youth, necessarily go to church. They're bringing their aunts, their mothers, their friends, their girlfriends, and fiancés, and it's seeing lives change. It's amazing. It's just to see God work and just to let us be a little part of that. We have one young man that that you guys might meet, the ones that are coming. His name is Justin, and he's probably pushing 19 now, but he was 18 when he accepted Christ, and he lives in a neighborhood that is known for drugs abuse of all sorts, and he is literally persecuted because he's making choices that are different from what is normal. He's laughed at, he's talked about, he's not doesn't get asked to join things that he would have in the past. And so we have gotten him back in school. So he's about to finish, he's going to be finishing up high school, and he's got a really amazing story. His parents abandoned him when he was young, and he bounced from family member to family member, and he struggled with depression. He was in an environment where drugs and alcohol would be the normal choice, and nobody would think twice about it. And he has chosen Christ, and he even says that when he accepted Christ, at that moment, he felt those burdens lifted off his shoulders. He even thanks God that his mother and father weren't there, because that's part of his story that led him straight into the arms of Christ. And so to hear a young man speak like that and see the change in their lives and how they're working in their families and their community, even when it is hard, is just an amazing experience to be able to see. And so we're so excited about and we could stand here and tell you those stories over and over of how God's working and using your prayers and in those situations.
So one of the things that we do is with the evangelism and discipleship is Bible studies. We don't have a normal Sunday school at church. We do them in the evenings usually. We have four Bible studies, 2 for men and 2 for women, 1 in English and 1 in Spanish for each.
Church service does go about.
Yeah,
2
church
hours.
service goes 2 hours, so we can't take the Sunday school on. But that's under time. We get started about 30 minutes late. So anyway, one of the things that in the Bible studies, these young men that Ben and I have worked with, Ben mostly, but they've gotten to the point, some of them have gotten to the point where they're ready to start discipling others. And so they asked about a month or two ago, well, maybe a little bit longer, 2 or 3 months ago, how to start discipling. And so the team that's coming, I asked George, I said, George, this is what they want to know. And so they're coming to do a 3-day men's conference teaching how to disciple. And so we're excited to see what that turns into, because I know some of these guys are very
Informal conference.
we call it, you have to call it a conference so they think it's special. There's food and so. But it's a 3-night Bible study men's conference. And they're excited. They'll be there, especially since there's food. So we have a captive audience. But the guys are great. We average about 30 guys between the men, between the English and the Spanish. And so we're going to do all 3 nights bilingually. So they'll all, I don't know all, but it'll be a really good crowd. And I know it's something they want. And this is how, when we formed Legacy, we wanted to make sure that teams came to do what was needed and not just come and paint some walls or something. And so I'm excited that this is what our guys in the church are asking for, and our team said, yeah, we'll do it. And they've already got everything ready. So we're excited to see what that looks like.
One of the main focuses when the team comes down is going to be construction. And through those projects that they're going to be doing, they're people we have met through church, through the children's programs, through the clinic, different ways of the ministries that were there. And because of the relationships we've started with them, they've opened up and they've shared their needs, and we've been to their homes, and so we've seen the things that they need. And so, yes, they will be doing construction projects, but they're also opening more doors, not only just in the in that home, but in the community, to see that the reasons we're there, and that will get us even closer into the community and able to share Christ. We don't have them going into any dangerous areas, except that as long as they don't go there at night. So, no, it's all going to be safe, and they're excited that you guys are coming. And so, it's not, even though they're primarily a construction team, it's not just construction. That is the offering and the way to open those doors. And so we're so excited to have this group of men coming. I was talking to someone earlier. She said her back hurts. She can't get up and do construction, but there's so many doors. I said, oh, I wish I would have known, because there's so many things she could have done, from checking people in at the clinic to reading stories to kids. We're starting a literacy program with our library, things like that. So there's so many different things that can be done. So never feel that you're too young or too old or don't have the talent that you've heard us talk about. God opens many doors for that. So we're very excited. We could literally go on for hours, so we're not going to do that. Do you guys have any specific questions or that you'd like to ask?
I want to get talking about crime, the one you go in crime areas, but y'all do have crime.
We do. It's mostly
Can you
crimes
repeat
of
the
opportunity.
question? Can you repeat the question for the?
So the question was, what kind of crime do we experience? Most of the crime there is crimes of opportunity, and I'll give you a great example. We got our new boat, the mission did, and the first time we went out on a nice ride, our prop fell off. And so we were stuck out in the ocean with no propeller. And the mechanic said, well, somebody was obviously trying to steal it and didn't get finished. And so while we were riding, it fell off. So he was my first call, because we were right off shore. And so he brought his boat out and put another propeller on it right there in the ocean, and we just went on back home. Well, the next morning, that prop was stolen. We now have a propeller lock, and so I didn't have time to go get it because they got it that night. So we have a camera and spotlights and locks and everything. But that's the kind of crime that we mostly deal with. Is if you leave something out, it's not going to be there the next day. my dog is not good at warning. He's just not. He,
So, yeah, there's common sense to be used. Overall, the island is a tourist island. And so they understand the necessary, the communities really grouped together. When we did have recently some people that were specifically from the mainland that had come over that were actually gang related, and quickly, and they didn't hurt anybody, quickly with just cell phones. They were specifically targeting women in the night that were walking alone, scaring them. They didn't hurt, they did push somebody down, but they didn't hurt anybody. But their goal is to take and to leave. And so, but the community got together and forced the police to get them out. So, and so, well, and okay, she asked me to tell her what I said about my sons. In general, Hondurans are very smaller people in stature. And so I feel for years now, if my son, I just tell my son, if I need to walk somewhere and in the evenings, I just tell my sons, at least one, if not all of them, because I know with the size of my boys, nobody's gonna mess with me. So they are, and I did learn that I will approach somebody if my babies are around and tell them to get away. So, but we do feel safe. My children, this is the first place in Honduras that I have allowed my boys to walk outside our gates at night. So this is the safest we've felt the whole time we've been there.
Where you are now, is it easier to ship to you because of this work?
she asked about shipping things. Not really. It's about the same. So anytime we have to ship something, a large shipment of things, we take it down to New Orleans and they put it on a boat and they ship it down to the mainland. Well, it lands in La Ceiba, which is right on the north coast, and that's where we lived for 2 years. So that was really nice because it just came right there and they put it on a truck and brought it to our house. Well, now they bring it to La Ceiba and then they drive it over to another boat and put it on that boat and then they bring it to Roatan. So it's not a big deal. It's about the same. The hardest part of the whole thing is getting it to New Orleans. As far as normal shipping, we usually try to just find somebody coming down and stick it in a suitcase if it's small enough to do that.
Do y'all have a list of that sort of thing? Like what if, I mean, kind of like we do with Madcap, needs this month are, and we put them on a table out here, and then maybe we could make our own shipment. Is that a possibility?
Oh, the question was, did we have a list of needs? We do often have a list of needs. We do everything from Amazon wish list to one of our biggest needs, because a lot of the money we raise right now is going into medicines. Any over-the-counter medicines we get in means we can spend them on more prescription medicines. We have a lot of diabetics and high blood pressure that we deal with on a monthly basis. So we purchase those for people who can't purchase their own meds. And so, and that runs anything from school supplies to art supplies for the church or in our different activities, to clothing. I know that you guys, along with Louisville Methodist, y'all donated so many clothes and after the hurricane. And so it ended up between the two churches, so many clothes that it was more than one shipment. And so the second shipment, so the first one got there, was handed out to the hurricane victims. The second shipment, it took a little bit longer to get it down to New Orleans. And the day it landed on an island, the night before, 6 homes in a community had burned down. So we made an executive decision, and the majority of those clothes we were able to give out the next day to 6 different families. But God's timing is impeccable with that. But yes, if that's something you guys are interested in, we could definitely do that.
And maybe could we get the link to that, if you put everything in that Amazon?
Yeah, and the question was if we could get the Amazon, we can work out what's best and get that going if you guys are interested. So yes, ma'am, definitely so. Any other questions? Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't have a question, but I know when I get your Facebook, the guys that graduate, the smiles are so big on their faces and everything. heartwarming. And I know Don is, he's high because he is not shy like he was when he left.
So she pointed out the transition boys and their graduations and how Todd is not as shy as he was when he left here, and that God's using him, and he has. Our transition boys, even though they started with another organization, they are still a part of our lives. We still, actually, almost everybody has graduated now. So we're so excited. We do still have one in medical school in the Capitol. And so we're still working with him directly. We do provide a lot of scholarships now, but it's not directly through a program set out like we had in the past. It was really fun for Holy Week, Semana Santa there. We had one of our young men that has been working for almost 2 years now. He graduated in computer engineering, and he's working for a German company there in the Capitol. And he called and said, this time, he comes to visit us often, but he said, this time I want to come to visit, and I'm paying my own way. And he was so excited to be able to pay his own way. He's the first one to finish any kind of education like this in his family. And he's like, I'll even buy my own food. Of course, we didn't make him buy his own food, but he brought a friend that he's made through work and school, and they were able to enjoy. We were able to show them a little bit of their country that they've never seen before. And so it's really wonderful that so many of those guys come, that they still think of us as family, and so they understand how you guys, through your support, we let them know it's not us. It's, we're there and we're the face, but it's all of you guys behind us as a church as a whole that allows them these opportunities. So it's really exciting because we did have several more graduations in the last year, and so we're really proud of them. We're very proud of them. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I know, I just want to remind everybody that I know that it's happened to several of us in our class, that when you do your donations online, sometimes they do time out, and you realize that you haven't been donating when you should, so that may be something you want to go back and check, because it does happen.
Made a payment. That in Spanish means embarrassing. It's hard. It is hard sometimes to ask for money. And her comment was that many people that have signed up, after a certain amount of time, either your credit card expires or it's only set up for a year or so at a time, or 2 years. And so sometimes you need to go back and check those and make sure that if you didn't mean for them to stop, they'll continue. Obviously, finances is a big part of keeping us there and what we can do. And so we're very blessed because God provides the money at the right time. We aren't exactly on a monthly basis to where our budget should be or where we first got there because of things like that and our changing of ministries and that sort of thing. But amazing thing, God always provides through larger donations, things through the yard sale, people in this church. And so God always provides what we need for us to be able to do our ministry and to do it sometimes big and sometimes on smaller levels. But yes, obviously we can't even feed our family without that money. So our boys appreciate that. And so, but then yes, each of those ministries, somebody was asking, well, what's your budget? Well, yeah, we have a budget, but anything that comes in is used. It's used on more medicines, individual family.
Yeah, so our budget is like what we need to survive. And so that's one budget. And then everything else is ministry budget. So the amount of ministry that we do and the things that we buy is anything that comes in over that budget. When we first went down, we had a surplus of monthly giving. And so we had a monthly ministry budget. And now it all comes in really as one-time big, larger gifts and things like that. And so it's a little more challenging, but again, Katie said, the money's always been there when God presented something. And so can't complain. We just wait and see what God does. So that's kind of where we are, but we would, obviously I'm more of a organized administrator type and would love to be able to budget monthly all the ministries and things. The clinic is almost there. It actually has some pretty good monthly giving. It's a separate account. And we usually have 3 weeks worth of medicines really well, and then about a week right now that we start running low. And so we're working on it. It's a new ministry for us. And so but again, God always provides for every family that comes through there. Sometimes they have to wait 2 or 3 days to get their medicines. Or if it's extremely important, we can get them over and get them to a pharmacy. It just isn't out of our pharmacy.
Any other questions?
How was the rummage sale?
So the rummage sale has grown. The rummage sale has definitely grown. I know we got here on Friday, a little bit after lunch, but the work that Faith Builders and you guys, but especially some specific families and Faith Builders have done is unreal. Much bigger than the first year after we all had an excess of stuff and wanted to do. I know they're still working on counting everything. I think it's going to be a record year though, is what it's looking like. I know they're going to get that information out, but we don't have a final total, but it does look like it's going to be another record year. So, yes. And it's something we really appreciate. And when we started that, we had no idea how God was going to use that in both locally and around the world. Yes, ma'am.
I just have to plug something
Yes,
here.
ma'am.
We went to Delta Grace this weekend and had a nice little team, and it was a great day. We had a great day. But speaking of Faith Builders, y'all, I don't know if y'all know how hard they work for weeks and months. Speaking of Faith Builders, I don't know if you know, these families come up here with their kids. They brought food so that they didn't have to leave, and they work and they work and they work. And they do it because they love Todd and Katie. They mostly do it because they love Jesus. And y'all, the time and the effort and the love poured out on that garage sale. So we go to Delta Grace yesterday, and I go up there, and Sarah was there, and she probably heard, but Veronica is the leader up there, and she told us, your Sunday school class. She didn't call my name, but she called them by name. She just raved about what they have done up in the Delta. This is the same Sunday school class that's helping to support Honduras. Y'all, Faith Builders gets it. I just have to say that. And when I grow up, I want to be a Faith Builder.
Thank you. So when we first moved to Madison, I know we've got to end it down, but when we first came to Madison, we were looking for churches, and we just loved the feel of Madison, and that Miss Renee could put up with our 3 boys. And so she had them under control. But Faith Builders was just a few people. Not even sure if any of the others are still in the class from the original group, but we met actually in the pastor's office around the table there. And so Faith Builders has grown and changed. Now, many of the members in there now, very quickly after we joined, came in there, but it was, yeah, they moved.
We moved from the pastor's office to the basement of the old chapel. That's when it really blew up.
And so, but it has been really neat. I mean, that is where through Sunday school is where Todd kind of found his voice in some of our lessons of saying, oh, this is what the church is supposed to be. You know, I have missed this in some of those, Sunday mornings that I sit down. Not that it's not necessarily said, but those small groups can be so important to digging in on a deeper level of what's being said on Sundays. And so those are so important. And God's not calling everybody to support us financially. I think He wants you to say a few prayers for us because we need those especially. But if God is calling you to support us financially, please feel free to talk to us. But he's calling you to do something. And it may be here in Madison, it may be going to the Delta, it may be going to Jamaica. God is calling you to do something and to represent this church, but more represent him somewhere. So if you do have any more questions, if any of the more random ministries, I mean, we could go on youth and children and our adult sewing and all that is anytime, but feel free to reach out to us. Do we have anything else?
Table.
So we'll plug our table over here. We have a few bottles of Honduran vanilla and Honduran hot sauce and plenty of Honduran coffee. The coffee that's over here is actually Renee and Brooke Fazani, who are other missionaries with us. He's from Honduras and grew up there, and they have a coffee farm on the mainland of about 4,700 feet high. And this is their coffee. And so we buy it from them and then sell it to you, and it helps two missionary families. And so if you guys would like some coffee or vanilla or hot sauce, let us know. If we run out of anything and you want it, talk to George or Jeff or one of the guys coming down. They can bring back another batch in about a week. But we would love to meet you guys. We have a few more minutes after this. Or if you want to talk after the next service, we'll be glad to do that as well.
We can Zoom or FaceTime.
Yep.
We can Zoom or FaceTime, anything. We love hearing from you guys also. So thank you for your time, and we love you guys.